So it says I'm live. Look, you're live. You're live too. Okay, let's see. I don't see any emails from her, so I guess let's close this down over here for now. She hasn't emailed me, so I'm assuming maybe she's not coming today, I guess. Okay. By the way, did you hear about the social media, the social media lawsuits in San Francisco? Yeah, so there's a social media lawsuit going on. Let me see if I can. Yeah, we're playing for a little time right now. Let me see if I can find you. Where's that guy? What's his name? Bill Maher. Yeah, Bill Maher. He had a guy on um, social media lawsuit. It's only a 2-minute video, but let me see if I can find it for you. Um, where's the guy? They're suing. Shoot, what's that guy's name? He's NYU professor. This guy. What's his name? I was just looking at today. What's this guy's name?
I did run social media. I have an 8-year-old.
Where's the thing? Jonathan Haidt. That's it. That's the guy. Bill Maher, Jonathan Haidt. He had just done this 7 years ago. No, this was just a few days ago. This guy right here. No, but this is the overtime. Oh, here it is. Is it? Yeah, this one. So this I want to show you because you might be interested. There's a lawsuit going on in San Francisco against Facebook and I think it's YouTube also. They sued Snapchat and TikTok, but those two guys are settled. The lawsuit arguing that social media is very addictive and that it's mentally harming a lot of young kids and especially teenagers and all that. So the guy, he breaks it down for you over here. And so you haven't heard of this case right now. It's a major case. Let me just put it over here.
But these things were designed by people who studied slot machines. Slot machines are addictive. These people go out and took a course at Stanford on persuasive design. They learned how to use intermittent rewards, variable ratio reward schedules to hook people. And they did it. They talked about it. We have transcripts. We have internal reports. They did 31 studies. My team has found. If you go to medicineinternalresearch.org, we categorized their own studies showing that this is addictive. They talk about it with addiction. And so now for these guys to say, oh, it's not addictive. Looks just like the tobacco industry. And would they let their kids, I don't think the tobacco industry, I don't think the tobacco guys let their kids smoke. A lot of these guys don't let their kids use their product. But there's a big difference, I think. And I think comparing it to the tobacco industry is actually unfair to the tobacco industry. Because the tobacco executives never saw children suffer. They knew that they were going to give them cancer eventually, but they didn't have to look at children suffering and dying. And these guys have to face the reality of these parents coming to them with the photos. It was so moving this morning. About 40 parents came to LA. There was a memorial showing like tombstones that are like cell phones, showing the block squeeze of these beautiful kids offering suicide. All sorts of things. So it's a lot of them are fentanyl deaths because, as one young woman said to me, everybody could buy drugs on Snapchat. And you had a piece on Gambler a week or two ago. When you make it frictionless and free, anyone can get any drug this afternoon. So really, I didn't know that. Yeah. So a lot of the deaths are fentanyl. I mean, a kid buys Percocet or Xanax, but it has fentanyl, and that's what a lot of them are. And the others are suicide after cyberbullying or sextortion. In one case, one mother I was talking to, her daughter was cyberbullied into suicide, and this was during COVID, and the kids broke into the funeral to continue the bullying after the grave. And what I take from this as a social psychologist isn't, oh, those bastards, oh, those cruel kids. It's what kind of sick environment are we raising our kids in that this sort of thing is now wrong?
So that's what the lawsuit's about, that this thing is going, which is it's a major lawsuit because our kids, like you mentioned, who are buying fentanyl and Percocet and things like that. You probably should not be doing that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's going to be a major thing. So, it says that thousands of lawsuits have been filed. We were talking about this in my class last night. And so the other students also had not heard of this case, but it's a major, major case.
Honestly, I'm surprised it even took this long because when I was in middle school, they were talking about, oh, who's the plug? Like,
On Snapchat and all that.
Yeah, through Snapchat, because it was like unregulated, easy connections. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm glad someone's bringing it to people's attention, like how addictive social media can become. And you said that they already sued?
Yeah,
TikTok?
they sued. I mean, so it's thousands of lawsuits. Like they're trying to combine them together, but it's a major thing. Parents, the plaintiffs, the complainers, parents, young adults, school districts, states, they consolidate multi-district litigation. They're trying to consolidate it because the cases are so similar, all the same cause of action.
Yeah.
They're just like, it's making it easy, just put it all together into one lawsuit,
Yeah.
like a collective action, class action lawsuit.
Yeah.
I don't think that's what they're calling it, but that's what it is. But like, the infinite scrolling, the doom scrolling, the push notifications, the algorithm-driven recommendations, it just follows you around, especially TikTok. TikTok's really good about that.
Yeah.
Photo filters, all of that is to like continuously maximize that engagement, that you're hooked on it basically. Like the guy said, they had people go and study those slot machines. When you go to Vegas and all, you are ding, 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 and or even at the Vegas airport, like it's calling to you in a very primeval way that come play with me. I'm fun, I'm exciting, I'm distracting from your problems.
Right.
And if you can do it in your mind, you're like, okay, I'll just do it like 30 or minutes or an hour, then I'm done. But it doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
People will sit there for like hours,
Yeah.
3-4 hours a day. That becomes very destructive. So
I'm not even gonna lie, that's me.
it can happen. And also it harms your mental health, right? Like I was talking to my students last night. We were talking about how, like when you go on Facebook, Instagram probably the same thing because the user interface is very similar.
Yeah.
You see people, happy people, beautiful people at their best time, vacation time. They want a new car, they want a new house, the kid graduated. All the happy stuff that's going on. You don't see all the other stuff that's going on in their life that they could be declaring bankruptcy, or they're about to lose their job, or someone flunked out of high school or whatever, or they overdose on fentanyl. Like, so you have a very curated, very biased picture, and that really can mess with people's self-esteem.
Yeah.
And their own moods, like, wow, that guy's doing so great, or this person's doing so great. And
I'm
I'm not.
also the exact opposite. Like the other day, genuinely saw this guy explode on my For You page.
On your page?
On my TikTok. Like a guy stepped on a landmine. It wasn't just a video. People were in the comments like, this is real. Like, this is not AI. It's a genuine guy. But that's like the kind of stuff that it's like microdosing. That stuff that they get desensitizes you almost. Like, when you have something that's so interconnected and people can take like a 30-second video and then send it off into wherever, it can be literally anything. Like when all the ice raids are happening, it's still happening. People getting shot on the street before the news even breaks it. You'll see it on TikTok if you're in the right circles. Well, the wrong circles. They'll say me, for example, like seeing all that stuff. Then the next scroll is like someone whose dog is like doing something really funny, and it's like, you're not even thinking about what just happened.
Yeah.
Like
You go to the next one.
Yeah.
But I really think that messes with kids' emotions, especially if you're a young person. And really so I'm all for this. They should have sued them time ago with this nonsense. It's really, it's a defective product design, It really is. I think for teenage girls, especially like you, there's a lot of eating disorders that happen. Kids get bullied. There's I remember last year my students and I, maybe you won that class, policy class, about how TikTok will put in lighter skinned people in front of the algorithm and darker skinned people in the back, so it doesn't show up as much. That's a very curated, very biased, prejudiced way.
Yeah.
It's a lot of horrible stuff these people have done. So they shouldn't be doing that. So it's coming. They're going after all these people: YouTube, Discord, Snapchat, TikTok, Meta. They're going after them all. And I think they're going to get these guys. I think they're going to come down with some serious repercussions.
Yeah.
So
I think I actually was in a class action. I got $16 from somebody suing Apple for I think something about the phones, like basically every phone is kind of the same. And it's also they keep putting out these updates that are ruining the older devices. So they were suing them for that.
yeah, that's a big deal. Those older devices. So the trick with Apple is every time you do a software update, that slows your phone down. People have been suing on that because the battery is basically wearing out. So the trick with that is if you want to keep your phone for a longer time is that it's slowing down, is apparently you replace the battery, it should be fine.
That's crazy.
Supposedly, if you go online and look it up, there was a thing about that. So anyway, all right, welcome. Hello there. We were just talking about social media lawsuit going on in Los Angeles right now. So, okay, let's get into, so I know this article probably, for a lot of you guys, when you read it, you're probably like, oh God, I don't think I can read this junk. I get it, don't worry. Even for someone like me, I read some of the articles. It can be a little difficult to read. And this article was published in 1982. This guy at that time was a professor of finance. I don't know if he's still alive or not. He might not even be alive anymore. But the reason why I wanted to teach it to you guys and talk to you guys a little bit more is because it talks about zero-based budgeting, which I think maybe we did discuss before a little bit, but I'm not sure. And excuse me. There's a class all about budgeting, as you guys know. And I kind of livened things up a little bit. Last week we were going to do we talked, for those students who came, obviously, we talked about personal finance. So I actually posted a really good, you guys mentioned, I think, about personal finance literacy. So I found a really good article through AI, and it's on I think last week, which is week 6. It's on there if you want to download a copy of that. It'll give you some really good, helpful stuff on there about all kinds of ways to, websites for your personal literacy, for financial, making good decisions and all. And I was actually thinking about maybe for the writing assignment, or depending if you guys want to do, because we have a presentation in my class. This year I'm trying something different. So this year what I'm trying is either a writing assignment or a presentation, because some students don't seem to like the presentation. They don't want to speak in front of students. It's just all right. I don't judge. If you're not comfortable speaking, public speaking, that's okay. But anyway, I wanted to talk a little about the article, and what I decided to do today for the first time, which I've never done, but I thought it'd be kind of interesting to see if it works, is what I did was where's my thing? Where did I go? It's right here. Is this it? Where did it go? Here it is. I asked AI, and I said to her, I need a full explanation and explain this budget article. And it gave me some pretty good tips, and even I didn't think about it. I'm like, this is pretty good stuff you gave me. So before I get into that, let me see if I can just minimize this over here. I want to go back to this article right over here. Okay, let me zoom a little bit. So has anyone heard of zero-based budgeting? Have you heard of it? Okay, that's right. So I'm going to give you a little brief introduction to zero-based budgeting and jump into the article. It's actually very simple, and it's very easy to understand. And TSU uses it. That's why I thought it'd be good for using this article, because the article is based on zero-based budgeting that was put into TSU, all the Texas university. The guy said in 1982? Was it 1980? He published in 82, but I think in 73, there it is, 1973. Way before our time, right? But zero-based budgeting is very simple to understand. Basically, all it really is it means that, and so they talk about right over here, Aaron Waldavsky. Did you guys heard of him? He's a big guy to know. This guy right here, Aaron Waldavsky. He's a really big, we talk about VOK. See that, 1940? VOK. But how do you allocate expenses? Remember I talked to you guys about the X versus Y, allocation of X dollars versus Y activity and vice versa. So that's why this is a really good article to read, because the guy gives a little bit of historical background of budgeting. So he talks about that over here. And he talks about over here that the VOK, Aaron Waldavsky also, like I mentioned, he's a big cheese. I think I'm going to read one of his articles in this class also, maybe next week or next week we're not meeting actually because it's the midterm. I'll talk to you about that, but maybe the week after we'll get into Waldavsky. I just want you guys to know a few of the big names, because down the road sometime you may have a conversation with somebody and you'd be like, oh, Waldavsky or VOK. I'm like, wow, you must have been a pretty good professor to talk about budgeting. You're like, hey. So, he has a YouTube channel, so I only do that because you say stuff. That's the reason why I don't do anything. All right. So Waldavsky anyway, on now. So zero-based budgeting simply means that you start at zero every year. So for example, I don't know, I think SOPA, School of Public Affairs, our SOPA, we have 3 departments, you guys know about, right? There's political science, AJ, and urban planning. So I think, I may be wrong, but I think our entire budget, I think it's like, about 2 million something, maybe 3 million, 2 million, 3 million, something like that. I think when we talk about the budget, And you can go online, you can look up all the budgets, right? I think our SOPA budget is like 2 or 3 million or something. Now, what that means is we have our budget, meaning that the money is allocated for salaries, like people like me and the administrative assistants. There's some scholarship money allocated for students. There is, paper, pens, pencils, computer, all that stuff basically. So it's allocated, and the budget basically has to be justified year by year. So theoretically, Texas, they mentioned over here, I'm going to get it now, what I'm going to talk about, but I don't want to lead into that right now. Where's my thing? They mentioned it over here. Every program starts with a base zero for, base each cycle. So past funding levels do not automatically justify continuation. What that means is when the dean, or I guess the provost, has to go to the president has to go beg money from the Board of Regents, or the Board of Regents have to go beg money from Austin, the legislature, they have to start at zero. So GSU's entire budget, I think it's 2-year budget cycle, by the way. Most state legislatures, they meet once every 2 years. Like Texas does that. I'm from Florida. Florida does that too. Some states like Pennsylvania, it's year round. They get paid a full salary. But state legislatures in Texas, they only make you $13,000 a year. It's a very tiny amount of money. Most of these people are very wealthy on their own. They have independent businesses, or they're doctors or lawyers, or they're self-sufficient. They do it for like public service, basically. But they don't really make any money. Now, if you ever go to Austin during what's called the off cycle, you'll go there. Their offices are still open and running, and they have legislative assistants and what's called LCs, legislative correspondents, maybe a chief of staff also, chief policy advisor. But they themselves, their representatives, are actually not there. The offices are kept running, and they have a budget for all that. But the budget cycle is actually only 2 years. So all it is simply is you start the way it works is it's incremental, traditional budgets. So, for example, if you were incremental budgets, TSU SOPA has like $2 million in budget. So we have, let's say, an inflation rate of 3% each year, right? So then the dean would go to the provost, and then the provost would go to the president of the Board of Regents, and they get money, and they say, look, SOPA had $2 last year. We're asking for a 3% increase on that because of inflation. That seems reasonable. That seems very reasonable. So, and up until 1973, in the article, they mentioned that. But then suddenly, in 1973, Governor Dosco and Lieutenant Governor Bill Hobby ordered all Texas state agencies on a ZBB system. That means us also. And ZBB simply means is every program starts at zero. You start at zero at over here, and you say, okay, NAIR is making all these professors, let's say the average salary is $100,000 a year. Okay, we have 10 professors in SOPA. So that's $1 million. 100,000, so 1 million. So we need that salaries. The secretaries make 50,000. We have 5 secretaries. So that's 250,000. So then we have this, and the dean makes 200,000. So we're gonna put the dean. Associate dean makes 150,000. So you put that in there. So you build it up that way, and all the other stuff like the printers, paper for the cartridges or whatever, the pens, all the other salaries and all the miscellaneous scholarship and all that. You have to keep adding it on, but you have to justify each one every. Now that seems like a lot of work unnecessarily. It doesn't seem like it makes any sense, and that's what happens. So traditional public budgets are incremental. That's what it really is. Like the federal government's budget is actually incremental. It's not like they just basically say, okay, the entire federal budget, and you guys know there's a budget fight going on right now in Congress. They just got to resolve very briefly, but all they've done is they've kicked the can down the road for another 6 months, and then the midterms are coming up in November, so it's going to be a big deal this year, But usually the federal government also only has a 2-year budget cycle. The White House proposes their budget, they send it to Congress, and then they haggle back and forth, and then it's done. But it's a 2-year budget cycle. Very recently, with the past, 15, 20 years, it has become a fight every year, basically. But it's normally not like that. It's become so politicized. Because what happened was a Democrat president, Republican president will come in, and there might be a Democrat or Republican Congress, controlled by Congress, so they'll haggle over stuff. So, for example, when Biden was in office, or actually George Bush Jr., back in 2001, they were haggling over sending money to people like Africa, and they wanted that money to be tied into religious organizations, so like churches and such. And so the Democrat president comes in, and they don't like that anymore. Like, no, we have other people, LGBTQ, who want to divert money to. So it becomes very politicized. See, because the budget is finite, right? It's only like $100 million or whatever. It's not 101, or infinite amount of money. It's finite amount of money, it's only this much money. And everybody can't get an equal share. So it becomes very political now. That's what's going on right now in Congress, is that they're fighting over whether DHS is getting all that money. And Democrats are saying that's not fair. You guys don't have body cameras. You're just arresting people in Minnesota, and you're putting them in prison or deporting them without any kind of due process. You've been told not to do that. So, excuse me. What they find is agencies then have to build decision packages. Like I said, every activity, meaning that justification expenses, has to be explicitly justified or eliminated. Agencies then build decision packages. Each package is a discrete activity or level of effort. Each contains goals, measures of workload, performance, and cost effectiveness information. Packages are then ranked from the highest to the lowest priority, and then a cutoff is set. So in theory, what happens with zero-based budgeting, this is what the idea was supposed to be. It basically exposes the low level of low value obsolete activities. Like you have some zombie, office that's not being used. It's just empty office. Like you'd be surprised in this campus. I'll give you guys a little Professor Gossip. There's some people on this campus who have not one, not two, but three offices. You know why? So, when I was on the guy there, who started, I didn't know this. So, for example, if you become chair, like you have Dr. Pamela upstairs as a chair of the political science department, she has two offices. She has a chair office, which is in that suite, which you go in the double glass doors, and she has a faculty office. So she has two offices, right? But only one is actually being used.
Yeah.
But she does have two offices because when she leaves that position, that chair, eventually she has to go back to her faculty office. So she has two offices, but one is not being used. So it's kind of a waste of space right now, right? We have, and that's very normal. There are people who actually might have three offices on campus. Like the provost, he might have actually three because he has a provost office. He may have a research office, like inside Hannah Hall, and he may have his own faculty office, wherever that is. And people are like, how is it possible? You have all these offices, it's like a waste of space. That could be, we could have put like a visiting assistant professor, or it could be something else, but it's not being used. So that's what the argument mainly comes down to, is that there's a lot of low value, there's obsolete things that are going on. Maybe you're paying vendors you should not be paying anymore, or you can get a better deal like printing or paper, office supplies, or pizza party for the kids, whatever, students need that, right? So you shift funds to the highest priority programs. Why are we paying this person, to deliver XYZ paper when they're never on time? We can maybe find a better, more faster delivery person, for example. So those are just I'm giving you just very basic examples, but the idea being that you reduce that waste, duplication services that you don't necessarily need. So Texas tried that, and Lieutenant Governor Bill Hobby, he ordered all Texas agencies would involve managers at all levels, and they would focus on priorities, generate new information. And what they did was they tried to put a minimum funding level, sometimes 50% to 75% of current funding, one or more higher levels up above current funding. They were using quantitative measures, which you guys will get into at some point, maybe, with workload and unit cost effectiveness. And they tried to figure out a way that we want to rein in the spending, because it's like this wasteful spending. If you think about it, this article came out in 1982, right? And they started this thing out in 1973. So about 10 years later, he wrote this to see whether or not this idea actually worked, and used a small university called Tarleton State University. I don't know if you guys maybe you've heard of it. It's a small school. It still exists, obviously. But he used it to see, to see whether or not it actually made a difference. But if you think about it, this is a Republican state legislature, right? Even in 73, the Republican state legislature. And what are they really trying to do over here? I'm giving you guys a story from 82 and 73, is because the lessons it has today, what was going on back then, is still going on today. Yeah. Have you guys heard of Doge? Right. You remember Doge? But cutting the cost and cutting the size of the government, and Trump came in with a mandate to cut all these, agencies, shut down the Department of Education. So they're still doing the same thing. It was 50 years ago. They're talking about this, that we're going to cut costs and all that. So that thing is still going on today. See that? So not much has changed, actually. That's what I want to really show you guys, that, you see the same patterns over and over again. All the stuff today, when you guys leave here, you'll see those patterns. If you look long enough, you'll see it's the same thing. It's not really any difference. Okay. So this is where the complication for higher education came in. And there's something called formula funding. I don't know if you guys have heard of that. If you haven't, that's okay. I didn't even know about that until I came to TSU. Formula funding. So what it is basically there's certain cost areas for universities are especially considered as formula funding. So there's certain cost areas like faculty salaries, libraries, plant maintenance that had to be completed by formulas set by the coordinating board and legislature. So higher education could not replace the old system with ZBB, but they couldn't do that actually because they had these things they had to pay. Like there was no way around that. They had to pay for the faculty salaries, libraries. Those are like built-in costs. You can't pull them out. They had to do that. So they had to layer ZBB, like pretend like they started at a certain level for formula funding. And so what they did was they did a minimum effort, and the coordinating board said, okay, look, do a 10% across the board cut from normal formula amounts, which you could do at a low ZBB level. And the high level was using the same formulas, but larger input assumptions, which you have like more students, maybe more workload, you're building new buildings, new computer lab, new library, whatever, but go from there. So now they had 18 different cost elements. And university then had to go and prepare what's called like, where we at over here, a basic decision package. Explain the needs and objectives for alternative at levels of effort. Describe the pro cons of each level. So you're really making these universities jump through the hoops, right? Well, where do you need that money? I really need that money, okay? Then, of course, after that, each university had to decide which level of each element they would most preferred, rank those elements choice in a single priority table. So they really had to make some hard decisions. Should we feed kids this year or should we build housing? I don't. Kids like both. I think both students like to eat and they like to sleep in a nice, comfortable. I mean, I'm making facetious to some extent, but it really it's crazy, right? Like, how is that? But that's what it was. So what he wanted to find out was, did ZBB actually change the funding patterns? When you force university to use zero-based budgeting, did it actually change the funding pattern? Did they actually get less money or more money? Or did allocations just continue forward? So use Tarleton State University, which was a good example, which is small, so you could see the changes were easier to spot. Like even our school would be a good one actually, because TSU, we have 8,000, 9,000 students. It's not really huge, probably about the same as Tarleton, I think. And so he looked at all of that, where you can see the data readily available because publicly available, not publicly available data. Anybody can get a hold of that. Enrollment was relatively stable over 10 years, and all Texas universities had used the same formula. So what he found was the budgets for the 10 fiscal years from 1968 to 1977, the first 8 years, it was traditional incremental formula budgeting, a little bit, just incrementally add on a little bit more. Then he found the last 2 years, 76 and 77, was the first one under ZBB. And he found there were 12 major budget categories that were consistent across the decade. So general administration, faculty salaries, library cost, plant operations. By plant operations, he's talking like sewer and electrical grid, things like that. Other utilities. He looked at 13 different regression models. Don't have to worry about getting too sucked into the technical. I really want you guys to understand that what was the end case about this, whether or not it actually made a difference. And so I'm going to skip over here. He projects that line for years 9 and 10 to get a predicted budget for 76 and 77 if nothing had changed. He then computed the standard error of estimates. And like I said, I'm going to skip over this. Is the ZBB year number 76 to 77 significantly different from the projection that the legislature was trying to do, meaning lower the cost, right? If yes, is it higher or lower? Then he kept adjusting it and trying to find out. What he found out was in table 1, which it's not on this, I think it's on the, let me see if I can find it. I think it may be on here. This is table 1? Yeah. Table 1, step 1, step 2, step 3. Let's see if this is the table 1. Like I said, don't worry about all the formulas and all that. That's, even for me, that's a lot. That's why I said, don't worry about it. But, here's a table 1 right over here. And it's upside down, unfortunately. Let me see if I can I do it here? It's okay. See that? This is kind of how it is. You see how like I said, don't worry about the formulas and all that. Don't worry about all that stuff. I just want to show you what goes into place. So, for example, most presidents have houses. Do you guys know that? University presidents, they have a house. They don't own it. The university owns it, and they live in that while they're president. And then we used to have one actually. TSU used to have one.
Where was it?
It's down the road. I think we sold it off years ago.
Dang.
Cause back home, it's like I live in East
Texas, it's a school called Wiley University.
Yeah, I know Wiley.
Yeah,
Wiley College, Wiley.
and that was Wiley College, but
Yeah,
then they changed.
It's a private school.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so, they have a president's house, and it's really big,
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah.
Really,
They're very
yeah,
nice.
it's really big and
Like, New York
nice.
City has one, the vice president has one.
That's great.
It's basically rent free. Now, in theory, TSU, we sold it off years ago. I think the maintenance call wasn't worth it, so they sold it off, and then another president came in and he kept trying to buy it. And the board region did not agree. But basically what it is normally they give you like, I think, 4,000 or 5,000 a month, which is very good for Texas, for Houston, to rent a place. So they get like a housing stipend, basically. So they get that. So it's easier. I personally think it's better to rent a place than, because you think about it, it makes sense, right? Because there's a cost. If you rent it, if you own it, you're the landlord as a university. You have to take all the costs, the insurance, the maintenance, the utilities. But if you rent it, that's what the other landlord's problem. That's not your problem.
Yeah.
I think it's better actually because think about it, like, if you're being a smart university now, some schools like Rice University, UH, they have so much money that it doesn't
It's
matter.
like whatever.
Yeah,
It's their property. Now, in fairness, universities also find all sorts of clever ways to avoid the taxes. You guys probably know, universities pay very little taxes actually, because they're nonprofit. They're such nonprofit, so they pay very little. That's what Trump is making a lot of noise about. That I'm gonna make you guys pay taxes. You have like Harvard and like Yale and all, they have these things called endowments, where people just dump all their money, dump pots of money, and they invest in the stock market, and they use that towards scholarship and research and all. So that money is actually not taxed. So Trump has been threatening that I'm gonna make you guys tax you guys if you owe us money. Yeah, he's finding all clever ways to not pay income tax. That's what it is actually. All his buddies and all his rich bad guy buddies, they don't want to pay income tax. That's what it really comes down to. So he's finding all these clever with the tariffs are a way for all of us to pay with the tax universities. He jacked up H-1B visas. Like it used to be like $5,000 or something like that. He's charging $100,000 for a visa. So it's just like all these.
It makes no sense. Well, Congress just told to shut down the tariffs or something like that. They just shut them down and said, actually, you can't do that.
The Supreme Court, you're right.
The Supreme Court was like, actually, you can't do that.
Because Congress has you don't have the power for it. So he got really upset. He said, well, we're going to go a global tariff of 50% for the next 150 days. So he had some other, you know how clever.
It's just such a slime ball.
Oh,
Like, for real. Like,
See, the first term was like his learning curve.
yeah.
And he had people around him who were like putting guardrails around the guy.
Yeah.
I don't remember he said something one time like, we got to declare war on Mexico, get those cartels. And he was thinking about hitting them with military. He's like, that's our ally, that's a neighbor of ours. And so he was talked down from the ledge. But this time they learned, they spent 4 years figuring out all the loopholes and
Right.
people who are, I don't think they're very confident, most of them, but they're very loyal to him. Very loyal.
Very loyal.
So, and that's what he's looking for. So these
Yeah.
people are not going to back down now so easily. They figured out very clever ways to get around, whatever the issues are. So you can see.
Well, sorry to break her up. But now that I'm thinking about it, the president's house thing, I was at Southern University in Louisiana.
Yeah, they have one too, I
They
think. They
have a historical one too, like off the bayou, because the school is like the bayou is right there. So they have this like little house, like it's an historical site, it's the president's house. And you could just go in there.
Yeah,
I mean, they have it closed majority of the time, but they're like, you can just go in and look around. But
yeah.
it's like a historical site.
So there's reasons why, and there's legitimate reasons why. Sometimes it's a historical site. Other times, the president of the university, they have foreign dignitaries who come in, like, they'd be visiting professors from like Cambodia or whatever,
Yeah.
or some wealthy billionaire wants to give like $100 million.
Yeah.
So you're supposed to entertain them. There's a good reason for it. It's not like, but buying it versus renting it, I think for a small school like us, it may not be worth it actually.
Yeah, I mean, and where would we even put it? Like across the street?
So I think we did. I don't know whether it's still on here or not, but I remember hearing a few years ago. Might have been about like let me see.
I feel like our campus is like held back from getting any bigger because of where we are.
I think there was one. No, I thought there was. I thought we did buy one recently, about a few years ago. Texas, it always gets confused between Tennessee and Texas Southern University. Let me see, President House, because I think they had bought it actually. I think we did buy it. I don't know if it's still on here or not, but I thought we had bought it. This lady over here, Lesia Crumpton, before she left, I think she did push through buying. She left a couple of years ago, but I'm pretty sure that she had pushed through buying buying a property. I don't know where it was, but it was down the road or something. Maybe see if it's open. This is not it. That's when she was confirmed. We've had so many presidents, right? Unfortunately, we've had presidents come and go. Whatever it is, but we had bought it. I thought. Region. I'll just put in one more term. Regions by. No, it's not showing up. Let me go over here. I put in the images. Maybe this is it over here. Tread light spending. HBCU, blah, blah, blah.
6 days ago.
Yeah. 2.7 million. Lieutenant Governor Pat. Because, there was an audit that came out last year.
Yeah.
And there was a big deal about that. So, the Texas Rangers are investigating potential fraud in ways. Ooh.
Texas Rangers.
Ooh.
They're always investigating HBCUs for fraud, bro. Like, do they really commit that much fraud for people to always be putting at HBCUs? You're committing. Okay, well, SU actually did commit fraud. SU actually, like, their band one of their band directors actually did commit fraud. But still.
CTS, you can still spend state funding on certain operational commitments, salaries, benefits, debt service, scholarships, general operating cost. Exempts ongoing educational contracts like utilities, especially about. So there's exemptions.
It was everywhere.
State.
Talking about, they're taking your money.
Man, I had so many people calling me, talking about some, you see what's going on with your school? Baby, I see just like y'all see. What can I do about this?
Like that email where they say they're gonna up the price for parking passes. Oh,
I heard about that. We done the same thing too, by the way.
What do you mean?
You're squeezing $80 out of me every year.
Like,
And then you go over and look at U of H's parking pass prices, $240.
exactly. So, look, I don't complain. look, I live at Cullen, so like I bought a parking pass for like strictly here, and then it worked over there. But then like we got to register through UH stuff.
Yeah.
So when I was looking at it, cause like when we go online, it show you everything, how they park in parking lines. It's so much. They have so many fees, and it's just so much. It's like $200, $300. Oh my
You
God!
get charged for breathing over there.
Yeah, DSU is for, right?
Yes.
I figured.
They sent out that email saying like we want to be competitive, like have comparative pricing, like we.
I wonder how much they going up.
Right.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. Like, why don't you tell me how much
Like,
it's going to be?
what's the amount?
That's what I need to know. Please.
By the way, us faculty.
Look, I'm in the pocket.
By the way, us faculty staff, we have to pay.
Right?
I'm gonna get a bike at this point. Like,
You're probably not surprised by that. That's true. You do have to pay.
So yeah, my teacher yesterday, she was talking about how premium parking and reserve parking are two different things.
Yeah, I don't pay for that. I pay
Yeah.
for one of those parts. I think that's crazy. Like, what are you getting for this? Just because you get an extra 5 minutes to walk in? It takes
Right.
for real.
I mean, I don't understand that, but some people like to feel like they're important, I guess.
Right there, like the first.
This one is I think it's like 400 a year or 450.
Crazy.
What are you actually getting? I don't know what you're getting.
Less exercise, like.
So I've always been in the fact book since I've been at TSU. But some of the deans, I guess, and some other people, maybe the law professors, maybe they like it. But I never understood that it's on. So it's a lot of money you're spending.
I can understand if you're like older, like that teacher yesterday was complaining because she was like, I'm older, I can't be walking. And I get that. have a reserve parking and premium. I don't think there should, if you're just gonna say that it's close to the school or whatever, say it's close to the school, don't say, okay, now you have reserve parking and it's $500, but this is premium parking and that's $200, but also there are not enough premium parking spots, so you might as well just buy a reserve parking spot.
Like,
I don't know, I think I pay about 200 a year. I think it's something like, it's either 200 a year or 160, something like that. But we got the email too, I know ours is going up.
Yours is going up too.
Yeah, of course, everybody,
oh my God.
everybody's gonna,
Everybody.
equal rights. Everybody is gonna pay, okay, like, you know, like the tariffs, everybody pays, like.
$40 already hurt me.
Every semester, I'm looking at my refund.
But I'm telling you guys, it's still cheaper than a lot of places. And at least,
I'm crying. So
Housing keeps going up. I'm not even on campus no more because housing, when I came in, housing was like $2,000.
yes, I was looking at that.
$6,000.
Like, okay, look, first, last semester, it was like, I think, $800 cheaper. It went up like $800 this semester. I was like, what is
I can't
this?
do it, no, I can't do it. The people that can have the stuff, good girl, you but I can't do it.
That's why I said, I don't know if I want to live nowhere. I want all the refund I can get.
All the,
Because I don't know.
how we just start talking about random money problems, like.
because it's budgeting class, that's why.
Where we complain about our budgeting problems.
I'd be like, broke college student here.
Living the life, hello.
But you shouldn't, well, hey, look, I mean, I don't know why. I guess Dasani's not going to make it tonight. I was hoping she made it, but that's okay. We're almost done. Anyway, I'm going to talk to you guys about the midterm in about 5 minutes, but I'll also talk to you guys. I posted a couple of videos on YouTube for the midterm, which might help you guys. Okay.
Favorite YouTuber.
You know me by now. I'm waiting for you to become one of my subscribers and give some, one time I gave students like an exercise to do about, what's it called, like what suggestions they had. So the best suggestion one student had for the class was, not for you guys, but for a different class, was that I can't hear you, so you should get a microphone. I'm like, oh yeah, I should have thought about that. Because I kept talking like this and it wasn't picking up because the speakers and all are not that good on these. They're not. You have to have a microphone actually. So I went to I think it was like $30 or $20 on Amazon. That's a good microphone. So now that's why you should be able to hear better. So anyway, okay, so I'm almost done with this article, right? So basically what he found was zero-based budgeting actually did not help at all, basically. He said, it's either right here. So from 68 to 77, looking at both subcategories, basically, zero-based budgeting did not produce a systematic reallocation of funds. Expenditure patterns mostly continued along the historical trajectory, meaning they just kept adding it on, basically. It didn't really make that big a difference. Where significant changes occurred, they were increases, not ZBB-style cuts. So in practice, Texas zero-based budgeting for higher education looked no better and no worse than all the previous other. Didn't make it different. It was just like a feel-good thing that politicians do.
Right.
With this thing, like, oh, we got this new thing, and it's going to be, but it's like a gimmick, basically. It didn't make a difference. It just, and like I said, that's why I want to show you guys a link that even today, when you go to Doge and all that, it didn't really save anything. They still don't know how much money. He was talking about it's going to save $1 trillion. I don't know if you remember, Elon Musk said that it's going to save $1 trillion a year in savings. Yeah. And the moment he said that, I'm like, dude, there is no way. There is no way on earth you're going to save that. I know that's not going to happen, man.
And the craziest part is they say that they're still trying to find how much money they actually found.
Yeah, they can't. They still don't know, actually. They still don't know. And they probably will never know. If they do know, they're not telling us. That's another thing.
It was take money. I'm sure you will find out in like a decade or so that you just took money.
All right. You're possible. You might be right. Okay. So I know you guys have had me before, so you know how I run things. So it's not a big deal. I forgot to put that in there. Okay. Where is my, let me go over here. I'll just go to Gemini. Maybe Perplexity. Let me go to YouTube. Okay. I wanted to show you. Here we go. It's interesting. It goes all the way over here. It's weird. Okay. So for you guys, there is, where are we at? Over here. This is the midterm. Did you all crack the midterm open yet or not yet?
Yes.
Okay, you did? Okay. So you know all the stuff. Check it over everything carefully. Please don't use AI for answering questions. You can use it for editing. There's no problem. AI is good for that, okay? But it won't give you good answers. So one is on VO-key, the lack of a budgetary theory, the one that I went over. And I did make you guys 2 videos for that. So where you guys are, where are we at? Playlist, here we go. So what is this? This is not it. Oh, this is a different one. Oh, God. Here it is. This is it. So you guys are right here, P85 312. Okay. Shut up. I mean, it's annoying. I wish you wouldn't do that. But I got you guys 2 of them on VO-key and Lindblom. Those are the 2 articles for the exam. So I do always suggest read the article, please, because it does help you. But if not, you guys can watch my video or just listen to my nice voice. My voice, you know, which is very soothing, melodious. And but you know what? It's Wednesday night, man. It's a hump day. Let's just move over the hump. So you can go through that. But look at the 2 parts, a subsection. Discuss and explain what does VO-key identify as the most significant aspect of public budgeting that is largely neglected in American budgetary literature. Subsection B, discuss and explain Key's perspective on the argument for stability and funding for government functions. How does he balance this with the need for adjustments over time? So try to discuss all the specifics for these 2 parts. And I posted an anonymous exam, which you guys I know have probably already seen before, but it gives you a good structure and layout of how I want you guys to answer the question. You do have until March 3rd. You still have almost 7, 8 days. And then Lindblom we discussed also with the branch method and the root method. That was the article that talked about that incremental changes versus like going like a major big change from the root method. So there's types of policy making Lindblom contrast the article, which was the root method and the branch method, right? What does he mean by that for budgeting purposes? And that's why I wanted to lead into tonight with the Texas article about Tarleton State, because he tried doing zero-based budgeting, which would be considered sort of like what? The root method or the branch method? What does that sound like? Zero-based budgeting. Right, exactly, the root, because it goes all the way to the bottom. You pull everything up and then plant a new tree in there. That's zero-based budgeting, basically. See, it's really not that complicated. You guys can get this stuff. It's really, I'm telling you, they're, you know, these guys, you'll see all these professors, they're not that smart. They're smart, but you're not like, they're not smarter than you. So, okay, you can do this, all right? So let me know any questions. I know you guys have before, and I was hoping some people would show up more today, but it's okay. They'll figure it out. And if there's any questions, let me know. Now, we're not meeting next week. You guys have next week off because you know that next week is the midterms official time. Right. So try to get your stuff in if you can. I would suggest by the weekend because then you can focus on the other exams. I'm sure you have others, sitting on your shoulders. And we'll get together, I think, a week after that, because the week after midterm is spring break. So I won't see you guys for almost 3 weeks now. I think so. Maybe I may be wrong about that, but just letting you know about that, okay? All right. Any questions? Any last thoughts? Okay. All right. Then I'm going to see you guys in a couple of weeks. Excuse me. By that time, we might have like more news about the budgets and such.
We'll see.
We'll see.
Okay.
All right. See you guys. Have a good weekend.